Well, hello and good morning. It's 10:45. I'm always late, so I'm like, be on time, be on time. You come on in and settle in. There's seats. I'm so excited to see so many people that want to come hear me talk. Yay. Thank you for being here. I'm Shannon McGuire. I, above all else, am a mom. And besides that, I do strategy work, consulting, coaching, entrepreneur stuff. Side gigs is what I call them. So I'm excited to be with you today and talk about opting out of shoulds and being you instead. So thrilled you're here. And our virtual attendees are with us too. So I'm glad that they're here because I can't see you, but I'm going to say I could feel you because it's all about energy. And we'll be diving into that today. So before we get started, I like to check in and think about how you are. I want you to think about how you are. So we have a poll for our virtual folks. And in person, we're gonna do old-fashioned hand raising because you've been sitting a lot, and if you're like me, your ass probably hurts. So just moving some part of your body is always good. So I want you to take a moment. I want you to take a breath. Breathe in through your heart and fill your belly and release. And I want you to think about how you are. We have A through E options here. So we're gonna call them out by show of hands. Show of hands if you're in the A zone. Thank you for being real. That's how I was driving over here. B's. Awesome. C's. Yeah. D's. Yeah. E's. Whoa. Y'all, come on now. I gotta have at least 2 E's in here. So my D's and E's, can you raise your hand again? These are the people that you should probably make sure you meet because they probably have some form of battery energy that they can give you. We have seats, if you don't mind seeing my face up close. So the D's and E's, there's a part of them that I would guesstimate that you like giving back and you like helping others and recharging. So my zeros, my A, my B's, even my C's, meet up with some D's and E's because then you'll do some energy exchange and lift. How about our online folks? Where are we coming in at?
We're seeing a lot of C's there, Shannon.
Doing okay. Life is life, right? Yeah, we're going to talk about that a bit and a little bit why life is life. Thank you for participating in that. I like to start by saying we see things as we are. So I spent a lot of time, I'm a homeschooling, life educating mama, so I got to read everything. And I'll talk to you about my children in a minute. But I read a lot. And over the years, I've read this whole thing about we see life as a projection of who we are. And I'm like, what? No. Then over the decades, I started to pay attention to it, and it's so true. We have a seat up here, not to call you out. Your color is rocking. Come on up. We see things as we are, and sometimes when we don't feel good about being ourselves, we see the world as a miserable place that we have to survive until death do us part. So let's not do that. We'll dig more into this as well. Right now, I want you to do another heart breath. Breathe through your heart. Fill your belly, and I want you to think about one thing, no matter how tiny, that you are grateful for in this moment. Hopefully you felt the shift. It may be subtle, but those techniques right there, breathing in through the heart and filling your belly, and gratitude are the gateway to joy. And we are living in an emotional sewer right now, all around us, seriously. So taking those moments as you transition, as you walk, no matter what space, physically, emotionally, you're entering and exiting, remember to breathe and breathe through the heart. Do y'all know the heart has a brain? It has 40,000 neurons. It has a remembrance. Neurocardiology has proven this. And reconnecting to our heart stabilizes those emotions. So thank you for centering. I like to open with an acknowledgement. I think we have seats. Are there any more seats? There's a seat. Come on down. You're the next contestant on Opt Out. Opt in, though. Don't opt out. So I like to open with an acknowledgement. first and foremost, I love to say thank you for consenting to be in this space and to hear my wild ass thoughts and experiences. Your heart and mind are sacred spaces. Please, please know your heart and mind are sacred spaces. Sometimes we consent without knowing the outcome of what we're hearing and inviting into our lives. I may say something that imprints subconsciously, unconsciously, or even consciously. You may agree, you may disagree. So opening that space is super important. So I want to acknowledge that. I bring my truest, most joy-filled self. There may be some victimhood spikes here and there, but I bring my truest self to this. And part of that, there might be some things that you may like, you just can't say. Full disclosure. I don't intend to harm. I don't intend to trigger. I don't intend to piss off. I intend to help you consider. That's my word, consider, contemplation. Just consider. I'm not asking you to agree. I'm asking you to consider what I'm inviting in. And so shit is a word that is frequent in my vocabulary since childhood. I've already said ass. It's just the way I roll. I gotta be me. I will keep it to a minimum as I can because I picture children in the room. But it will make an appearance. I'm human. So this human that stands before you, I have spent almost 14 years in philanthropy, community well-being. So I spend a lot of time in our state in particular leading leaders to help build vibrant communities. I've probably seen some of you, worked with you in one capacity or another. I'm usually behind the scenes or pushed up front to talk. Like, I don't need to talk. So I've spent an inordinate amount of time understanding community well-being in context to our individual well-being. I take a breath on this one. So I have about 26 years in a relationship with my husband, 26 billion trillion years, it's a long ass time. I love him, but he can irritate me in ways no other human can. We produced 4 children across 2 generations. So I have a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, 19, almost 20-year-old boys, 20, almost 3-year-old daughter, and a grandbaby that just came 4 weeks ago. I know it doesn't look like it, right? It's weird, trust me. And I've spent a lot of time in strategy facilitation, which I gleaned from motherhood. Try to get a 5-year-old and 22-year-old to like, man. And I've spent 30 plus years intentionally developing myself. That was prompted by some really adverse childhood experiences. I didn't know it then, I know it now, that those were advantages that set me on a path to reclaim who I am so I could stop listening to the shoulds and figure out who it is to be me. So let's jump in. I moved to Idaho about 16 years ago. And most people are like, how'd you end up here? You came from California? It's one of the good ones. I don't want to change things too much, but I love Idaho. So we came to Idaho in November of 2007 on a visit after someone said, wait, you want to move out of California? You should try Idaho, Boise. I'm like, potatoes? All right. So back then we had city data forms. Does anybody remember city data forms? It was like before the internet blew up. I'm aging myself here. Went on and researched something like 1.4 million people in a state. That's LA County. That's scary. Let's get on a plane and go do it. Let's see what's going on. So got on a plane, came to Idaho, stepped off the plane, kid you not, me, my husband, and 2 kids at the time, fell in love immediately. The energy, that's the only thing I could say, the energy, the vibe, the feeling just felt right. And I spent the last 16 years going all across the state. I've been all the way up north, all the way east, all the way south, all the way west, all over. Small towns, big cities, our big cities. And I love it. I've had the most incredibly inviting experience in Idaho. And that's not everyone's experience. And that's my experience. I've worked with so many people, thousands upon thousands of people, and it's just been a delight. But 2020 tested us all. Let's take a moment and breathe. 2020, some of us don't want to remember it, but I want to bring it back into this space. And I want to bring it into this space intentionally, especially as we think about the shoulds that happen to us every day. So 2020 all the way through 22 to me were some of the wildest times for humanity, especially 2020 and 21. People showed their ass, y'all. Didn't they? Like, think about how many relationships ended. Think about how many new things came in. Think about the destruction and the rebirth. It was chaos. It was chaos. And the state of our world 3 years later doesn't fully surprise me. saddens me a bit, but I turn that sadness and judo it into possibility. So unhappiness is at an all-time high across the nation, across the globe. I'm not particularly friendly with happiness. I love joy. Happiness seems to be what happens to you. You get something and now you're happy, where joy is birthed from within. But we'll go with happiness because Gallup uses that word for data. 1 out of 3 people, clinical signs of anxiety and depression. That's 1 out of 3. So the other 2/3, that doesn't mean we're fine. We have our shit shows too. We all need guidance and help. But that whole being of the mid-ground here, the C's and my A's and B's, we went through a lot and we're continuing to go through a lot. Burnout, we hear this word, burnout, self-care, compassion fatigue, all the things, right? It's up across all industries. Any K through 12 leaders in the room? That's the industry that's experiencing the most burnout. Now think about this, our kiddos are going to school and the teachers and the administrators are burned out. And then they go home and we're burned out. And if you look at the data, it's not so good about our kiddos right now. I'm gonna bring us back up. I just wanna set the tone, be real. Our families are teetering on the edge. I mean, truth be told, we canceled a lot of family members in 2020, didn't we? I realized people, it was an excuse we needed. They're like your ass anyway, don't come to Thanksgiving. But our families are struggling, whether it's basic needs, whether it's our mental or emotional or just day-to-day living. Anybody feels like it's Groundhog's Day every now and then? It's just like, damn, can't something good happen? Leaders are divided and siloed, especially in our state. It's crazy. The people that should be leading us and making these high-level decisions can't even sit in a room and have tea together. It's crazy. It's crazy. And belief in higher power has declined. Now, when I say higher power, source, God, creator, creation, Father Sky, Mother Earth, whatever you want to go with here. It went from 95+% when the start of the poll was there to 80% now, lowest amongst our 18 to 29-year-olds. The importance there is, where do you go for your source to recharge into power? Your belief in whatever higher power, higher order of intelligence, that's where we tap into. So the state of our world is not so good when you look at this data. 2020 will always be hindsight. Now, I'm going to introduce a word and a theory here. I'll breathe through because it gets mixed reactions. I believe the biggest threat to humanity is when our caring bridge builders, probably 99.9% of you in this room, because we save that 0.01% for when we lose our shit. We're caring bridge builders. We want to connect. We want to ensure that people feel good about being themselves. We want to feel good about being ourselves. We want to bridge those divides. When we fall into victimhood, it poses the biggest threat to humanity. When I say victimhood, I mean the crappy place we go to when we don't feel good about being ourselves. The crappy place we go to when we don't get our way. Think about a 3-year-old. What happens when they get a no, when they want a yes? That's us. It embeds in us, and it just matures, and it calluses, and it's a place we go to. This has nothing to do with the labeling of victim. I'm so sick of that word, like you're just being a victim mentality. Yeah, we've all been victims. That's why we feel like shit at times, because our consent has been violated one way or another. We're women, so we're walking through a world that is very masculine and patriarchal and all the things. But victimhood is just a place we fall into. It's a state of mind, a way of being. We can get in and we can get out. The thing is, we spend a lot of time there. You ever wake up and it's a couple of months later and you're like, where did my life go? You ever wake up a couple years later and go, wait a minute, what happened? You ever realize and finally release anger and forgive and you're like, now I got gray. I've been holding on to that long that I have gray. That's victimhood. You ever want to punch somebody in the mouth with a brick? That's victimhood. All the things. And I have spent so much time there throughout my life that I kind of say I wrote a dissertation on it. I wrote a memoir about it. And it's so funny because people don't like to talk about this word as much. They don't like to admit when things don't go their way or they don't feel good. We don't like to talk about our feelings as much, but yet we talk about our feelings all the time. And when people give us advice and opinions, and the shoulds, where do you think they're coming from? Depending. What draws them to give you this path that you must walk. We'll talk about that. So victimhood has 3 layers for me. Keeping this microphone. 3 layers. Fads. Fear, anger, disgust, sadness, and Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude is deriving joy off another's misery. I just love saying that word, Schadenfreude. Got my kids saying it. My 5-year-old's like, that's Schadenfreude. I'm like, good job, buddy. Emotional regulation right there. So fads is like the gateway. And these aren't bad. It's not bad. But when staying in fads too long, it can trigger rage, resentment, anger, grief, and then eruption. You ever just lose your shit over something so minor? You're like, dang, probably went too far. You probably did what was right. You probably said what you really wanted to say, but it was timing and tonality that just didn't match up, but you got it out. You know, I say don't talk when you're angry. I mean, depending on who you are, I'm like, say it when you're angry, because that's what you really want to say. You're just not saying it. Timing and tonality. But rage can make way to FUCD. I won't say it how it's written. Told you I would keep it to a minimum. Fear, uncertainty, chaos, and division. This is the most dangerous place to be, because when we're in this space, we don't know where to go and what to do. We're in this place where we're our most vulnerable. We go outside and we seek opinions and advice, and that's where the shoulds come in. This is what you should do. If I were you, I would. You should. You got to. Whose voice is that? So I like to say people are like tea bags. You don't know their strength until they're in hot water. Now, I borrowed that from somebody somewhere, but the second part is mine. When shit gets wild, it tests your truth, trust, and openness. And if you reflect between 2020 to 2023, where we are now, you were probably in some hot water. It probably tested your truth, trust, and openness. And when I say truth, I'm not talking about you go find truth. Truth is always there. It's covered with the comforting lies we tell ourselves. I'm fine. That didn't affect me. We don't want to talk about the rejection and the pain we feel. We don't want to talk about when we just don't feel good in general. We don't want to talk about our joys. You ever call somebody when you're feeling really good and they just don't want to hear you? Who can you share your joy with is so pivotal. Hot water can be good or bad, the stressor, but the strength comes through then. And we were tested. We were put through in 2020 to 2023. How many of you faced a reckoning, show of hands, that rocked your world and you are not where you were? How many of you are still going through it? Bit of a dark night of the soul where everything around you is crumbling. All of these are hot water moments. And we're our most vulnerable in some ways when we're open. And it's about what are we receiving? So our next poll, when you think about 2020, show of hands in the room to start. How many of you are A's when it came to 2020? Thank you for sharing that. We won't leave you there, trust me. B's, C's, D's, E's. I gotta claim it.
I do too. I loved it.
It was a great year. High five. What about our online folks, our virtual folks?
We have a few that are saying that they were counting their blessings.
Yay.
Yeah.
Such a good time to do that and go within. You have to shut off the noise, though. Shut out the noise. So for me, I want to tell you a little story. Check my time, because I talk a lot. Hindsight for me will always be 1992. Nothing in life, I think, will ever top 1992 for me personally. One wild fun fact, if you overlay the calendars, 2020 and 92, they were the same. So I'm Black, and in my culture, in my family culture, we always skeptical, like, wait a minute. How'd that happen though? Always questioning. So the reason for that calendar is because in April of 92, my world changed. My world changed drastically within a span of 3 weeks. I lost my brother in a tragic accident. He was hit by a car, and it happened right behind me. And I was blamed because I wasn't paying attention. I was blamed because I touched him right after. It was tragic. To tell a 9-year-old that you're the reason your brother died kind of fucks with your head. Oops, got it in there. Sorry. Damn it. Fear, uncertainty, chaos. He was buried on my dad's 36th birthday, a week later. 5 days after that, the LA riots broke out. So in this span of time, and what I didn't mention is he died on Good Friday. So we had Easter, we had Good Friday, we had an earthquake, we had a birthday. A week before that they were fraternal twins, my brothers. There was a birthday there. It's just like highs and lows, highs and lows. So my environment that I was curated in looked like that. That's where I came from. So when people learn that and they go, how the hell did you get to Idaho again? I don't know. But I started to reflect on that. And in 2020, for me, I started to realize my past is someone's present. And those very moments when those communities burned, when those families were divided, when people were losing their loved ones, even lockdowns, because LA riots lockdown, brother dies because he hit by a car, lockdown. So for me, it was this really weird, revisit to the past. And what was really wild is it didn't trigger me into dark places of victimhood. It empowered me and encouraged me to think about the shoulds that I had to let go of to be me, to be who I am standing before you today. So while that was a tragic time of my life, I came through it with so much advantage. That's how I can stand before you today. That shit put me through so much that I feel like I can stand before anything in my life and face it, no matter how tragic. I've watched my parents lose a child. I buried a parent just this year. All these moments prepared me for that. I want you to think about this, not in the sense of triggering traumas and the adverse things, because remember, those things have happened. They're not happening to you. And you can review them with objective neutrality, kind of like sitting in the theater of life and you're watching your story play out. Come on, when you end life, you don't want to go back and look at a boring ass story. You want highs and lows and good and bad and drama and pain and suffering and joy. That's what our lives are, our story. So when you are faced with those adversities and those things that you are going through and have been through, sit in the seat, in the theater seat, and view it. And know that that was you, but that isn't you. And that isn't who you're going to be. But you can draw on that strength when you need to make decisions. You can draw on that strength to recognize and realize who you already are. It's so important. I don't think anyone really tells us this. It's almost like you got to follow the mainstream. You got to do what everyone else is doing. You got to put on a hat or you got to put on a dress and you got to take pictures and you got to be on Instagram and you got to be on LinkedIn. You got to do this. You got to build your brand. You should. Whoa, time out. What do I really want? What's in my heart? That's where I had to start. I was told I should be miserable from the earliest of ages because of that environment. I was. I believed it. I was told I should be a high school dropout. So many ways. There's no future there. I got time for that. We'll be dead by 18. Live now. YOLO. I believed it. I dropped out. You should have a baby in your teens. It's just the way it was. Listen to R. Kelly all day. What you think gonna happen? You going half on a baby. Did that. 18. You should be on welfare because that's just the way it rolls. Just go, get on welfare, don't work really hard, keep your job level here, and you can skirt through the system. They owe you. I did that. I did all the shoulds there. You should know better. I should, but I didn't because it was my environment. But I did because my heart told me different. My heart always told me different. I didn't fit in that environment. Hell, I don't know who does, but I didn't fit. But I had to suppress any light and any joy in a dark environment like that because if it was seen, it was snuffed out and it was life or death. So should I know better? Maybe. You should want more for yourself. Oh, I did. But I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to get out of that. So the opinions and advice that I turned to were the first sets of things. Oh, girl, this is what you got to do, let me tell you. This is what you need to do. It doesn't feel right, but okay. Shoulds. Sometimes they're average, normal, because it's normal, because it's the thing everyone else does. That's a warning sign. Is everybody else doing it? Everybody going that way? I'm going this way. It's just from what I've learned. This is my insight. Shoulds are victimhood based. People fell into a sewer or a shit pit at some point in their lives, and they're talking to their former selves when they're telling you what you should do. I don't care, it could have been yesterday. They got a hit viral thing, and now they got all the answers for you. How many times did you do it, and how frequently? What's the repeatable pattern of your success, and how do you define success? Start asking real questions, and you'll see the thread unravel. Shoulds can be restrictive, and they just drain you. It's like leeches all over you. Shoulds, what you should do. Going to external sources to figure out how to make a decision can always open you up to dangerous, restrictive, draining things, energy-sucking vampires that want to steal your joy or want to navigate your life so they can take credit, or they have good intentions. For real, people are like, oh man, you should do this. This is what I tried. How many times did they ask you and get curious about what you're really after? So why do you want that? Where are you headed? What is the vision for your life? Where do you feel most alive? What brings you joy? What powers you? Now throw some advice and opinions there. Oh, this happened. Oh, you should do this. You have no background and context, but are you offering that background and context? Control is yours. So I like to say opt out of should and be you instead. I should be dead. I should be on drugs. I should have 3 baby daddies. I should have all these things, and I don't, and I didn't. Because somewhere along the line, I had to choose me and be me. I'll never fit. I'll never fit because I know I belong. I'm not worried about fitting and fitting in. I'm weird, I'm wild, I'm zany. I will always be. Because I belong, and I know I belong because I know the source I come from. I know the truth that I'm walking. I trust in where I'm headed, and I'm open to receive what is coming my way because I've grounded myself. That was the inner work, and it starts with connecting to your heart. Your heart. And if you're like me, the rejection and the pain that you experienced early on started to callous it. You're like, I don't want to open up. It hurts too bad. What if? What if I'm rejected? What if I'm made fun of? What if, what if, what if? It's like should. Should you keep it closed? Maybe. Should you open it up? Maybe. So I like to say above all else, and you have some worksheets that we are providing you digitally that gives you a couple of head starts to these spaces. Above all else, I'm me. And that is the most powerful thing that I found because I went through life going, well, I'm this, I'm that. I put the roles and things and labels on myself. But I think we're here for one purpose, to be ourselves, to be you. So I'm like, I'm me. And if I had to describe me, above all else, I'm a mom. It's the most sacred, important role. I've learned so much from being a mom. I credit my children, don't tell them, especially the older one, because she's like, it's all about me. She's a narcissist. I love her, but Lord. Love that girl, but she takes after her father. But as a mom, I bring that into my tangible world professionally, if that's still a thing. I'm a guide. I'm not so worried about leadership anymore because I know I'm a guide. I'm about guidership now. I don't need to lead. I don't need to go first. I don't need to go last. But I can be a guide. I can come alongside and say, hey, I'll walk with you. I'll run with you. I'll stay behind. I'll stay up front. What do you need? How can I support you? So for me, a big part of my leadership is my willingness to be a guide. And I can't be a guide if I don't know who I am. Can't. I can lead you to some stupid ass places. I have. But have I gone to the energy, the inner grace and God and goddess and gangsta within me to be that guide? I've done the work, and it's so important. So our next poll, kind of a facetious little question. What can you do to thrive when you think about your next steps in your life and your journey? You're here absorbing so much insight, hopefully not a lot of opinions and advice, and shoulds, but insight. Insight is deep introspective reflection that is curated through lived experiences. It is positioned as wisdom that we can glean, knowledge to help you with your knowing. So as you think about what you can do to thrive, how many of you are at an A? Yay, you passed. How many of you are at a B? C. D. E. Yeah. What about our virtual folks? Yeah, go for it. I want to talk about D and E. There is something that happens when you start to focus on self. So I'm not about self-care anymore. I want to burn those words because they've been so commercialized. Somebody told me to go get my hair done or pedicure or take some time, like, stop. I like to talk about me time, mental and emotional time, the deep time, that reflect on how am I doing? How am I doing? How is life? So when you start saying yes to you, be warned. Sometimes it may come from a rage place. It's all about me. It can be, but with a little more compassion. Sometimes it feels selfish, and maybe it should be. It's okay. Be more selfish. Because if you don't take care of you, you can't be there for others. What about our online folks now? They're talking to a lot of D's. Focus on yourself. Invest in you. You're the biggest investment. You know that? I always talk about money and cryptocurrency and investments and futures, dollar cost averaging and low cost index funds, all these things. Invest in you. It's the biggest bet that I've made. Woo. It's the best return on investment. Because by investing in me, I invest in my kids, I invest in my husband. I love him despite how annoying he is. Love that man. I've invested in my family, and I think family is so dang important. It's also the hardest work that we have to do. Hardest work. So let's talk about 10 things. First and foremost, what can you do to thrive? Practice joy. You've probably learned by now I love acronyms. Just observe you. It is the simplest and most powerful thing that I have learned, to just observe myself. It is a coaching prompt for me because I had to become my own coach and guide so young. Just observe you, observe the feelings, observe the thoughts, observe what's happening in your body. When things feel wild and intense, taking a moment to pause and practice joy is so powerful and hard. Because when you're in heated conversations or you're flaring up, you don't want to talk, it's about them. They did this to me. I'm feeling anger. Here's the wild one. You're not the one necessarily feeling the anger. You're the one that recognizes that you're feeling the anger. It's happening in your body, but as humans, we have this really uncanny ability because of our neocortex function and all these other things to understand we exist and contemplate that existence within that same breath. Wow. So when you recognize I feel versus I am, I'm angry, I feel angry. I recognize that now there's a window for me to do something. And recognizing the different emotions. There's a wonderful resource called the Atlas of Emotions. I don't read Brene Brown, so it's not her. And I don't read her because I just don't have time. And I kind of feel like I conquered all that. It was commissioned under the Dalai Lama and Ekman's, I believe, but it's an online resource that walks you through emotions. And it shows you where the stimulants comes from. It's beautiful. It is so helpful to help you understand your fear, anger, disgust, sadness. They do joy, and they put Schadenfreude in joy. I took Schadenfreude out because I think it needs to stand on its own. But how you are and claiming how you are to yourself doesn't need to be confessional to the world. Just be honest with yourself. How am I? I feel fill in the blank. Second thing, check for victimhood through stories, songs, and sayings. Check your playlist. I'm going to start with stories and songs, but songs are just stories. And once I started to recognize the music I was curated in, Half on a Baby, I listened to Tupac a lot, hit him up, I was angry, but then I had my love songs, my Earth, Wind, and Fire, things like that. But songs are on repeat. They can be so dangerous. My Linkin Park, I love Linkin Park, but when I go there, I'm an angry teenager all over again. So sparingly. And the stories you read, the stories you tell yourself, the ones that nobody really knows but you. the ones that go through your head. Stories morph and move. Songs are usually verbatim. Those verses are like spells. And watch for your sayings. Your sayings, one-liners typically. Mine is, I'm tired. When I get there, that's trigger for like, oh crap, she needs to recharge. So pay attention, because victimhood, that crappy place we fall into when life doesn't go our way, is subtle, y'all. And it's sexy and it seduces us. It's in pop culture everywhere. Just don't believe me? After this, just whatever your news source is or your music, just pay attention to how much drama and fear, anger, disgust, sadness, and schadenfreude is in that. Cite your source, whatever that may be. I have atheist friends that are like, I don't believe in any of that, but I dig nature though, like great. Cite your source of recharge. Where do you go to recharge? For me, I've identified and come to this conclusion that God is energy, and I reframe that to energy. God is gangsta, genius, girl, grace, whatever. And made a relationship. It's extremely personal to make a relationship, whatever that source is for you, and not following along with the shoulds, because I should be a Baptist Christian. I should bleed the blood of Jesus. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't want to know. So I had to come up with my own journey and path. So cite your source. It's so important. That's what you're plugging into. Stop listening to incompatible people that's in your ear, that don't share your values, that don't share your values. They may share interest, but do they share your values? And do you know your values? Those people that are giving you the shoulds can be very incompatible with your core spirit and who you are. Remove the labels. I even challenge us to remove the ones about us being women and people who birth and moms and all the things. Strip. Here's an activity for you. Sometime this week, because of this conference, I think it's a great time. I call it the Lay It Bare Challenge. Go home, take a bath, take a shower, remove everything, every accessory, every piece of jewelry, scrub your ass, head to toe, tie bathhouse style, between the toes, the toenails, just get it all clean and good, hair, everything. And I want you to stand in the tallest mirror you can find, and I want you to look at yourself naked and bare. And I want you to see how long you can go without judging yourself and shaming yourself. Remove the labels and start there. Loving and accepting yourself for who you are, self-defined. So lay it bare one time this week. Just see how that goes for you. Just love and accept you. Stand for your beliefs, because somebody's always trying to label you and pull you back. You got to be normal. Be like us. Don't go different. Don't do different. How you move to that white people state? Huh? I'm sorry, what? That's a lot of white people. You sold out. Let me get this straight. Idaho is racist and white, but I moved my black ass here and do something super crazy. So I'm a sellout or whatever it is because I live amongst the white people. Wouldn't you think they're trying to kill me though, if that's the case? The conversations that I have, y'all. Wild. Moving to Idaho was one of the boldest things that I did for me and my family. My values were safety. My values were family. My values were being out. I didn't know it then, but my values were community. Connection. It's beautiful. I had a lot of people trying to hold me back. You know they had the KKK up there. Yeah, I'm trying to bring it. Shit, I grew up with Bloods and Crips. I ain't scared. Be mindful of advice, okay? Advice to me is like the things that squeeze you. It just puts the pressure on you like a vice grip. Add vice. I don't want anyone adding vice to my life, and I try not to add vice to others. Insight is what I try to provide. So be mindful of when you're feeling squeezed. That might be that advice coming your way, unsolicited usually. And the same, beware of opinions. I feel like a voodoo doll. People pinning things into me. Oh, here's my opinion. Why? You can keep that to yourself. Did I ask? I did, damn it. All right, I still reject it. And again, people have good intentions, but filter it through your values and what matters to you. Above all of that, practice gratitude. Before you go making decisions about what you should do, there's a beautiful book, Crossroads of Should and Must, by the way, by Ellie Luna. She frames shoulds and musts so beautifully because she's an artist and it's a really pretty book. But practicing gratitude is the gateway to joy. Just being grateful and being in the moment of what you have. That doesn't mean you need to settle. You can be grateful for what you have and want more, but not from a place of I need to fill this consumerism drive that's been embedded in me. But I'm grateful for what I am and who I am. You may still want to drop the weight. You may still want to change the hair. You may still want the car, the house, the love, whatever it is. That's okay. But filter it through what you're grateful for and count your blessings now. And above all, remember everyone has a story. Everybody's walking a path. We never know what's going on behind the eyes or in the heart. Sometimes a simple hello, hi, how are you? A real how are you is so important. Think about our A's and our B's and even our C's in our first question, how are you? So my D's and E's, give a little recharge where you can to those folks in this room and in your life. It's so important. So there's going to be some tools for you. I think they're going to be uploaded on the Hopin resource and whatnot. First, this is a really busy slide. Be considerate with your decision making. So here's a tool and activity sheet that you can sit down. We call them rechargers. They're designed to help you just take time to recharge and take some me time to yourself. So this is a cool activity for you to get a little more centered in yourself before you go off and make those decisions. It's curated with love and joy in mind. So these are some actions and activities. The second is your above all else. Love this. Above all else. If you stripped away the labels and the roles and things and then remixed it and brought it back, above all else, how would you introduce yourself? I walk with the heart of above all else. I'm a mom, or I'm a guide. I say mom because I think moms need a whole makeover in today's society. It's like shit on so bad. Tired of that. Like, what? I'm a grandma now, so now I'm real fierce. Man. But above all else, this will help you start to go within that space of your heart to recognize who you are. And then more ways to recharge. So I told you I wrote a book and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to spend your money. You can sign up for free. We kick out daily emails. They're about 3 paragraphs. They come out every morning to help you recharge and just give you some mom wisdom and insight to get through. So you don't have to spend your money. If you want to spend your money, you could buy a book or something else on there. My team put that together, whatever. Most importantly, saying yes to you and making space for that me time to recharge. And then I think the last one is the evaluation. But we saved time for questions. I think I did it. Yay! So for our in-person attendees, I highly, highly encourage you, if you have a question, to step up to the mic and let's roll those questions out. And our online folks, there's a Q&A button next to the Think People button to your right. Drop those questions in. So maybe start there, Danielle. Are there any online questions that I can answer and be short-winded? Because I can be long-winded. Sweet. In person, any questions? You can ask me anything. Don't mean I have to tell you everything. Yay! She's coming up to the mic, And if you could tell us your name, too.
My name's Chris.
Hi.
And first off, thank you. First question, could I get the name of the book one more time?
Oh, Two Mothers from the Hood. Not the hood you know now it's victimhood. Damn it. Damn it. Yes.
And the book about practicing gratitude?
Gratitude. Which one was that? Oh, the Crossroads of Should and Must.
Okay.
And then Atlas of Emotions with the other resource. Super cool online resource.
So my follow-up question, besides clarifications, was, I think timing is perfect. And I think most people here probably felt that. I feel like, personally, I've moved through all of this within the last 12 months. Mm. And now there's this space that has been opened. How did you feel it?
With silence. I had to sit in silence and I had to be mindful and considerate of the thoughts and then the feelings And then really tiny, I had to get back to what do I desire? And it came down to feel good. And then I had to say, what does that mean? What does it mean to feel good? What recharges me? What powers me? So I sat with the silence, and then through that noise came, I want to feel good. And that led me on the quest to find God, honestly, because that was the reconciling that I needed, and I didn't know it. But I had to sit with the space of quiet, and then what is good? I had to be a good opportunist scout. Where is it? Where is it filling me? What are the things that are powering me? I want to do more of that. And I started to let go of all the shit that didn't serve me. That's such a, can I hug you?
Yeah.
Yay.
Do you oh, please.
Next question. Yay. Can I wrap this up in a bit? Any other questions?
Yeah, we've got about 10 more minutes for questions. Can I ask a virtual one?
Yes.
Great. So, first of all, one of our virtual audience members asked if you're taking applications for friendship because you're so much fun.
Always.
Which is
Always.
awesome. I hope that they connect with you after this. The second question is where you grew up in Los Angeles.
Ooh, South Central. So I grew up right out on the outskirts of Watts. I spent time in Compton, Inglewood, spent a lot of time in there. But like near 103rd and Compton Avenue. It was a Jack in the Box. It was in this movie called Menace to Society. So yeah, it's real hood. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I think
You
it
might
did.
have been there with me.
I feel like they're asking for a reason, so that's probably true. Another question is whether or not you read the book Relate to the Hate You Give, and if you have anything to share on
no.
that.
I have not. Relate
Okay.
to the hate you give.
I think it's Tupac, so
Oh, is that a Tupac?
maybe
thing?
something
Did I
we look
miss that?
into.
I'm gonna look into that. Thank you. Yeah, Tupac. I love philosophical Tupac. Very deep. Okay, I like the grungy one too. Yes, thank you. Relate to the hate you give. I'm gonna write that down. Thank you. I'm always trying to read something.
And it looks like we have an in-person audience member that's going to ask a
Yes.
question next.
For this.
I know it's all tall and stuff. There you go.
Hi, my name's Sarah. My question is, when somebody comes to me for advice, how do I make sure I'm giving them wisdom and not opinions?
Start from the heart. Insight. Filter it through. This is what I do. I filter it through my lived experiences. I filter it through lots of questions and consideration for what they're trying to get to. And insight is usually timeless wisdom. It's not something that is for the now and the modern world we live in. It's something that is transferable generation after generation. So instead of advice, and my daughter gets really pissed, 'cause she's like, I need your advice. I'm like, your insight. So I reframe that word. So starting from the space of the heart and filtering through everything that you've been through and being mindful and questioning what are they really trying to get to here? What are they trying to solve? Usually it's something simple, relationship advice and those things. It's a repeating pattern. So I start from the heart and I really center in with how am I and what is the intention? What am I giving here? And it's coming from my lived experience as well as understanding what they're living and going through. And then I filter that through. So example, my daughter's like, well, I just got married, I have a baby, and I already hate my husband. I'm like, okay, hate is a strong word. You're feeling rage, perhaps? So talk to me. What happened? And so I start there. And then I give that insight of how important it is to be well with self, and then turn that towards spouse, and then baby, because those two need to be anchored. But it's filtered through a curiosity as well as a love that I have for myself and who I'm in front of. I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
While she's approaching the mic, could you share the QR code for folks to sign up for your daily email?
Yeah, there
Thanks,
you go.
Shannon.
Hi.
Hi, my name's Tawny. My question is, I guess, I grew up with a very rough childhood, so I'm learning how do I let that all go because it's holding me back, and I want to let it go, but it just won't. So how do I?
Whew. Bite-sized pieces. And then there will be some that, okay, I'm a mom. Then it's going to feel like diarrhea It's just gonna come out. So starting with you and loving you and accepting you for who you were and who you are. Who you were and what you went through led you to be who you are today. And then it's the relationships. Who are the villains in your life that you may be holding on to with a story? There's someone that may have done something to you and harmed you, and it's getting to that place of forgiveness for you and turning outward and forgiving them. But to do that, you got to know I'm gonna come hug you. Is that okay? I don't want to violate your consent. Getting to the place where you love you and accept you, and you can look at them and know that they gave you something. But starting from the self-love space, that me time is so important. Me time is so important because it's a space to start to unpack the baggage of your past and then start dropping the things that don't serve you. I highly recommend before you do that to build a time machine. So a time machine is where you go around your house and you gather all the things from the past you that you've kept that bring you joy. You go around, you just find those things. What did you keep? And then think about the songs and the movies and the things that brought you so much joy and warmth. And you surround yourself with that, and then you go back to the past. But tethered to that joy. And then you just start dropping those things, girl, that don't serve you. You just and then it's going to be like, oh. And then you wake up. And it just may hit, and it may be fleeting. This whole enlightenment thing is fleeting. It don't last that long. But it's beautiful because then you'll have this freedom that can almost be indescribable and this love. So piece by piece, you drop that baggage. It made you who you are today. Badass, powerful you that is here today. You rock it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Another one. I love questions. Oh, questions.
Hi, my name is Erica. So, like you and Tawny, like when you said your mom blamed you or you were blamed for your brother, you could have been speaking about my mom and my grandma. So I was very quiet as a child because I had to like there's a quote that says, "I dream of never being called resilient again," and I don't want to be resilient, but that's all I had to do. So my issue is like, how do you it's not forgive. I still interact with these, crazy women every day. And it's not old trauma. It's like still like the same expectations, the same, and being viewed as like a child. I'm still the child. I'm the main breadwinner. They're reliant on me, but they're very controlling. So I'm like in this like rage stage of my life where I have to like be aggressive. And I don't know how to tell them to shut the fuck up. I'm having a really hard time.
First and foremost, do those relationships serve you and your highest good?
No.
So why are they in your life?
Where are they?
Why?
Why? Because I take care of them.
Why?
Because nobody else will take care of them.
Are you taking care of you?
No, I take care of everybody.
So how might you stop, even momentarily, in moments of pause, and start to define? Now, boundaries is one that I've been riffing on a lot lately. I think boundaries is overused. I like to say my boundary is like a sieve, potato, where it's like a filter. I want to allow the good in, but I want to keep out the gunk. And setting those boundaries, do you have to have conversations with them? Do you have to communicate in those ways? And a part of it is, well, for me, so similar. For years, I took care of people that I grew up with. I still do. I had to reframe my obligations. I had to reframe them. They felt like obligations. If I don't, they're going to fail. They're not going to survive. So instead of that story, I had to reframe it to, I can and I will, but it had to come from love. And then I tell them to shut the fuck up. I do it really kindly. Like, whoa, you're spinning, you're spiraling the patterns. I like to say things change the same. You ever leave a relationship, walk away, and you come back later and it's the same thing? So what part of you hasn't changed? What part of you is still showing up in that same pattern? And then really it's a hard road. But maybe they need to fall. And it won't be your fault. It won't be your doing. But if you keep holding on to that weight, it's going to drag you down. And who's going to be there for you? Who's going to help you? You got to help you. So I would say when I went through those tough times, before going there, I had to start with me. And then I had to write down a list of every relationship. And I thought, is this serving me? How and why? And keep digging at it. Because right now it doesn't serve you. You're serving them. And it's baby steps. And start putting up your guardrails. You know, like bowling, stay in your lane. Start practicing guardrails and boundaries with those people. And pray before you go in. Pray before you go in. But I would say, start there. If they're not serving you, why am I doing this? Why is that obligation there? Why? And don't be afraid to let them fall.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. 5 minutes? Do we have any more online questions? In-person questions?
I don't want to go over that.
Go for it. Go for it. I'll repeat your question.
Okay, how do you get rid of the guilt of like saying no to people?
How do you get rid of the guilt of saying no to people? Because I reframe it to I'm saying yes to me. Instead of saying no to them, I have to say yes to me. They may say, well, you told me no and you did this, and they fall into victimhood. But I know I have to say yes to me because I'm responsible for me and my well-being. And if I don't say yes to me, how can I expect anyone else to? And why would I want them to? So yes to you may mean no to them, but that's not your burden to bear or carry. It's really about you saying yes to you and practicing that. And I think that worksheet starts to do it. If not, there's others that are going to be there. How do you start saying yes to you? In the tiniest ways. I make my tea first when I wake up. Don't come at me talking about where breakfast at and this and the dog and the cat. I got to make my tea first. Say yes to me. And that's literally where I had to start. So yes to you versus no to them. I'm sorry, I'm intense sometime, huh?
And Shannon, I wanted to let you know that I sent an email with that QR code you referred to. So It is, feel free to pull it up and show everybody if you're interested, and I'll post it in the chat and virtual as well.
Awesome. Sorry, which one was that? Is it up already or?
It's your closing card.
Oh, yeah.
It's in your email.
This is not my computer, so I can't log in.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
No,
folks.
you're good.
The cards that you have right there can go to
Yes.
the in-person audience, and the virtual audience is about to get a post.
Yay.
So why don't you talk about what
So I
that's
want to
going
talk about these cards. So these cards are ACEs. And there's a lot of talk about adverse childhood experiences. We share those. Adverse community environments we grew up in. Adverse cultural expectations is one they don't really talk about. But I like to talk about the advantageous side of that. So these cards, I brought hopefully enough for those of you that want, take them. It is about flipping your adversity to advantage. And there's just a couple of questions here where you think about a situation you went through, what's the lesson you learned, what strengths that you gained from that, and how you can use that to your advantage. Because your adversity, I guarantee you, is gold. It's your advantage. So we have these cards. And our online folks have them too. I brought them last minute, and Danielle is a rock star. She made it happen. But these, I like to say, I was dealt a lot of aces in the life of blackjack. What happens when you get an ace in blackjack? That's your moment. You're like, ooh, hit me. Let's go. Let's go flip this card. So instead of aces being draining, and Shannon, you have 7 to 8 aces. I'm like, yeah, I do. They're my advantage. I can walk that. So we have these cards, and I'll put them out so you can take them. And in closing, I invite you to go back to your heart and breathe through your heart and fill your belly. I invite you to think about one thing you can be grateful for in this moment. And I invite you to opt out of the shoulds that do not serve you, whether they're coming from another human directly, your past self, your future self, even your present self. If those shoulds, you should be doing this, aren't serving you in your highest good, start practicing release and letting them go, bit by bit. Thank you for sharing space with me. I appreciate you, even though I may not ever get to meet you directly, I'm with you. And suprememoms.com is the resource site, and more is coming on that front. It overwhelms me. But we're out to help co-create a world where 8 billion people feel good about being themselves. That's our mission. That's what we're on. And so thank you for being one of many. I hope you felt a little more better about being you in this room today. Thank you. Yeah.